Hi, I'm Travis, and I'm one half of Coupled Investments. My wife Mikey and I love sharing the knowledge we've gained from our 10-year journey of working in and investing in real estate businesses. As you know, the last 4 years of our journey have been spent living and investing in Puerto Rico. If you're watching this video, you're likely thinking about purchasing or already own a property in Puerto Rico. Maybe it's a second home, maybe it's a short term rental, or maybe it's a side hustle investment. Maybe you've managed some light renovations on your primary home where you currently live, and you're looking to get familiar with what it's like managing a renovation in Puerto Rico. So, welcome. You're in the right place. I'll take you through the essential steps of construction management in Puerto Rico. I'll walk you through how to define the scope, how to get permissions, how to budget, how to select contractors, and how to control costs. By the end, you'll feel much more confident in making decisions, whether you're actively managing your own project or you're overseeing it as a client. How do you know you have a construction project on your hands in the first place? Many investors think they're just doing a refresh until they realize it's really a construction project. If you've bought a property and it doesn't meet your intended use, you have a construction project. For example, you bought a single family home, but you intend to subdivide it into 3 units for a bed and breakfast and maybe add a pool. You already know there's a substantial alteration. Or maybe you had a property for a while, but now you want to fully upgrade the kitchen and the bathroom. The difference between a cosmetic remodel and a full construction project is important. If walls are coming down, plumbing or electrical is rewired, functions are changed, then you're probably in construction project territory. With construction comes more risks, more permits, more costs, and more timeline. Recognizing you have a construction project early helps you plan correctly instead of tacking on extras during the work and getting hit with delays or surprises. One of the early stage steps that's super important is defining your scope of work. It's like thinking backwards from a problem that you're trying to solve. You have to think, what's the outcome that I need? If I need to operate this property as a 3-door short term rental with a kitchenette in each unit, how does it have to change in order to fit the guest experience? From there, you create your scope of work, itemized and detailed. Some owners assume they can just pick a contractor and say, renovate the bathroom and walk away. But in reality, the contractor needs to know a lot of information. Will the existing tile stay the same or will it be replaced? Are you keeping the vanity or are you replacing it? What brand of finish? Will you alter the plumbing layout entirely? And so on. So your scope of work should list each line item. In the example of a bathroom renovation, it should read something like demo the existing tile, install new porcelain tile, replace the vanity with XYZ model, replace the faucet and any other plumbing to code, and paint the walls with a specific color code. That's just an example, and it really should be an exhaustive list of everything that you're trying to accomplish inside of your renovation project. So, why all that information? Is because the more specific, the better. This allows a contractor to give you a clear and accurate bid and allow them to develop their pricing in a way that should meet the work they're going to complete. It also gives you the ability to cross compare bids if all bids are accurately developed. The more accurate the bid, the more it would allow you to avoid change orders, which is when a contractor needs to update their pricing to reflect the on the ground conditions in a construction project. Change orders are not inherently problematic. However, they do need to be reduced in order to control costs. Particularly, accuracy around material pricing is important, especially in islands like Puerto Rico where just logistics and supply issues can add to costs. How do you know you have the permission to build what you'd like? In Puerto Rico, there's a lot of factors at play, but usually it comes down to a couple things that folks miss, especially if they're beginners. One big one is whether or not their property is in a homeowner or condo association. Properties under associations have a different layer of legal rights they have to contend with. The association has the ability to decide whether or not you can penetrate certain walls or change the layout of mechanical, electrical, or plumbing. It can even prohibit whether or not you're going to do short term rentals. If your property is subject to a HOA or condo association and they prohibit short term rentals, you may have purchased the wrong property for your business model, in which we've actually seen happen to people. Some investors avoid these properties for these reasons. Another big issue is obtaining a building permit. It's a two-part exercise. One that determines whether or not you actually can use the building for its intended purpose, i.e., if you have a use permit. And then there's another type of permit which allows you to determine whether or not you have the capacity to construct the type of construction that you'd like in that space. For instance, some areas will prohibit multi-stories or have story limitations on the height that you can go up to. They will even prohibit the type of building that you would like to put in that place. So, for instance, if you'd like to do some type of industrial use in an area that's zoned for residential, this all comes back to the construction permit and the use permit. So, the local government typically regulates the function of buildings through these two types of permits. If you are altering a structure or performing electrical work and possibly plumbing, or even changing its use, then yes, you will definitely need a construction permit. In Puerto Rico, most permits are granted through the Municipal Permitting Office, which is referred to as the Oficina de Gerencia de Permisos, or OGPE for short. Where do you file your permits, and what is a use permit versus what is a construction permit? A use permit covers the intended function of a building. An example would be converting a single family home into a short term rental or a commercial use, such as a hair salon, while a construction permit covers the actual work to construct the building as desired. In Puerto Rico, many municipalities use the OGPE portal or the Signal Business Portal for submission. The Single Business Portal is run by the OGPE and is the online tool that you would need to use to request a construction permit. If you have the time and you are in Puerto Rico, you can go to the office personally and request technical assistance related to navigating the Single Business Portal. While it is possible to submit a request on your own, it requires a combination of specialized knowledge regarding the real estate development process and technical knowledge of the bureaucratic systems of Puerto Rico. This is all quite complex. My suggestion would be to hire an expediter familiar with the process to complete it on your behalf. In Spanish, they are called gestores. This really matters because if you want to find one in Puerto Rico, you need to Google the word gestor. It won't work if you put in agent or expediter. If your project involves hiring an architect, a well-experienced one will know exactly how to navigate the permit approval system, and they will be the one who obtains the permissions for you instead of a gestor. Once the project is built, you'll need occupancy or completion certificates that are tied to inspections that all ensure your building was built to code. Without these, you may run into serious problems later with insurance, resale, or rental licensing. Utility upgrades also trigger additional fees. If you upgrade electrical service, amperage, or add major plumbing and water demand, the utility company may require design fees, often in the thousands, and installation fees that could be even in the tens of thousands. We've seen our 9,000 square foot boutique hotel project have $20,000 for the electric utility upgrades, plus $4,000 worth of design fees. If this expense goes unanticipated, it can lead to significant issues in the delivery of your project. For one, if you have the misfortune of not conducting a load calculation, which is an assessment of how much electricity from the energy company your property needs, and you attempt to operate your building without enough capacity, it will eventually short out the electrical equipment at your property. The first thing that will typically be the electrical meters, which are technically owned by the electrical company. If that occurs, the electrical company has the legal authority to disconnect your property from the grid, so this is considered a highly dangerous event and presents a risk to public safety. Furthermore, if folks arrive at this point, it's because they were trying to be penny wise and pound foolish in an attempt to avoid the upgrade and the permitting fees. However, if your property gets disconnected from the grid, it's far more expensive to have all the work ripped out and for you to have to redo it in order to be under applicable code. You're ultimately paying twice in this situation, and there will be penalties assessed as well. What are the major fees for completing a construction project? When you're budgeting, you must include permit and tax fees because they are not negligible. In Puerto Rico, some of the key cost components are the construction permit filing fee, which is 0.635% of the estimated construction value, the municipal construction taxes, which are 3% of the construction value, and workers' compensation insurance, which is 2.364% of the construction value. These rates definitely vary by the municipality and the scope of the project, so you have to check locally. Then there are utility upgrade costs, inspection fees, design fees, potential end-use permit fees. For example, residential construction cost averages in Puerto Rico range between $120 a square foot between $225 a square foot. And permit and inspection fees costs alone may run up to $3,000 or even as much as $15,000 depending on the scale. So when you're developing your budget, don't skip these fees because they can eat into your margin if you assume only materials and labor. This episode, we've covered creating a scope of work and what are the legal ways to conduct construction along with the associated fees and why you absolutely need to do it legally. We're going to come back to you in the next part to dive deeper into how to budget, how to select contractors, and to make sure you don't overspend while doing projects in Puerto Rico. If you like this video and you found it useful, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to our channel. Also, check out the show notes to find the link to our boutique hotel project as hosted by the crowdfunding platform Investor. With a buy-in as accessible as $5,000, it's your opportunity to get exposure to Puerto Rican real estate and high-quality hospitality assets. Until next time.